Whenever y'all ready. How you doing?
I'll call to order the council meeting for Thursday, December 19th. If everyone would please stand for the prayer given by our own Ken Dawson, and then we'll take a moment to pause before we do the pledge.
Let us pray. Father, as we come tonight, we give you thanks. During this special time and season when we celebrate the birth of your darling son. Father, we pray for our families. We ask that you protect them and keep them and watch over the soldiers that are overseas and that will not be here during this time. We thank you for those that you brought home safely. Tonight we ask that you touch the Epps family. As Mitchell Epps, oh God, is struggling, we pray that you touch him and heal him, oh God, and that you minister unto the Epps family. As we do the people business tonight, we thank you for the grace that you've bestowed upon us for 2013. We don't take it for granted. We thank you for the blessing that you've given this parish. We thank you for the leadership, those that have sacrificed their time and effort for service. And Father, we thank you for what you will allow us to accomplish in the next year. We give you all the blessing and praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Tonight, we are honored to have in our presence Sergeant Danny Cluot and his wife, Janie, and their boys, Jude and Gabe. Danny is with the Louisiana National Guard. As you've seen in the paper, perhaps, the 922nd Engineering Company just came back, and we're certainly glad to have them back. I know Randy and Regina are certainly proud, as are we. Thank you for representing Ascension Parish and serving our country. If you guys could come forward and lead us in the pledge, we'd be honored.
Appreciations of the United States of America to the first states nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay. I'd also like to honor Mr. A.J. Nickens with the school board for his presence here tonight with us. Thank you, sir. Roll call, Madam Secretary. All members present. Chair's additions. Chair would entertain a motion. I'd ask that we please reschedule the January council meetings. We have 5 Thursdays that month, so I'd prefer, if we can, because of the holidays and talking with some of you, rather than have it on the 2nd and the 16th, we do the 9th and the 23rd. I have a motion by Councilman Schexnayder for those dates, and a second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion? Any objections? That motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. With that, we'll move into number 4, which is the public comment sign-in period reminder. If you wish to speak, please fill out a card with the secretary, and you'll have 3 minutes. Number 5 is the parish president's report. Mr. President.
Yes, I'd like to ask anyone from the 922nd that may be here tonight, or anyone from the National Guard, to please come up if they're here. Meet you guys. I just want to tell you it was probably the proudest moment of my life to welcome you guys back home. It was something that I'll never forget, something that made me proud, and made me proud to be an American, but also made me proud to see all you guys coming back safely from Ascension Parish. And you know, we just love you for it, and we thank you for it. And hopefully you don't get deployed again. You got 2 beautiful children here, and I'm so happy that you get to spend Christmas with them here. And I've been knowing the Cluot family most of my life, and your grandfather would be proud, and your grandmother, and I know that the Cluot family are a proud family and a very patriotic family. And I just want to take this opportunity again to wish you a happy holiday season and to thank you for all you've done for our country.
To give to the parish. For appreciation with the parish, the council, and the Roger. What everybody does for the non-22nd is a non-22nd coin.
We will be proud, and we will display it proud, and we'll put it, when we build that new building over here, it'll be on display for everyone to see and enjoy over the years, and to remind people of what you've done for our country. Thank you.
On behalf of Danny and the rest of the company and all the engineering battalion, Tommy and I and everybody, we all reached out to them when they came back. But look, those guys are not all from our parish, and they're from the surrounding area that come into this company. And they've been away for a long time. And most of them was heading home, heading wherever home is. It might be close here, but they hadn't seen their family in a long time. So we appreciate the fact that those guys are back with their family. And we have something that down the road can be done to recognize all you guys, and I'll let the parish president explain that with our Veterans Day parade.
We're certainly going to honor you at Veterans Day, and hopefully this year we can put together a parade like we did in the past and have you guys leading the parade. So, and again, we wanted you to come back at future meetings, and if any of you guys and buddies that come to town, let us know, and if it's a meeting night, we'd certainly love to have them here and honor them also.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. President?
Yes, when we had the last meeting, Mr. Cluide had asked me to give a report on Lamar Dixon, so I'm prepared to do that tonight. We had a few comments at one of the last meetings about Lamar Dixon losing money, and how the people didn't want Lamar Dixon, and we bought it anyway. And I just want to dispel some of those things. First of all, if you want to, or anyone wants to poll, I think that for every one person that would come here that would be against Lamar Dixon, I think I could get 5 to come here to say that they're for Lamar Dixon. The other thing, I don't think people voted against it. I don't think they voted against roads when they voted against the road tax. I don't think they voted against firemen when they voted against the fireman's tax. So I think in general, the people here, I just don't want to pass a tax. So to kind of explain what goes on at Lamar Dixon, to explain the finances there, I put together a report, and I'm going to show you what I've been saying, that since we bought Lamar Dixon, we have a positive fund balance of $1.4 million. If you look at the last 4 years, we are plus $1.2 million to the good. And the way it was written up in audit, I think that that's where some of the misconceptions lie. So I've asked Mr. Tommy Lejeune to come up and to explain and to tell us the facts, and I think all of you have a sheet up there that will explain what's going on as far as finance.
Basically, I understand y'all had some a conversation regarding Lamar Dixon, and some information was extracted from the audit that we produced. Just sort of this, to kind of before I get into this material, you know, the way some of the governmental statements are required to be reported in your audit, there's a certain format that you have to follow that's prescribed. And what it does, it places expenses and revenues in different parts. So what I tried to do here to try to get it clear, you know, the statement that's presented in your report can be confusing. And so what I'm trying to do here is a couple of things. You know, one is sort of put it in a more easy to read format, you know, the money coming in, the money going out, versus how it's presented in the audit report. And then really talk about a few key factors that I would look at from a financial perspective to judge, you know, how it's performing. The other thing is that there was some written material in our audit report that President Martinez pointed out, and it's accurate to an extent. It didn't really talk about the whole picture, so it's sort of our fault that we didn't really finish out the discussion like we should have, which I'll correct in this coming year's audit. But if you go into the written material I just passed out, basically really tried to break out two things with respect to Lamar Dixon. You know, one is over the last 5 years, just what's happened, and then basically looking at third-party activity, and then before we get to the bottom line, how much of a parish investment has been made into the facility from an operations standpoint. But as you can see, it sort of starts with the fees, and the way that it's presented in the audit, we basically take direct fees, anything that's directly associated with utilization of the facility, and that's sort of the top line revenue number. Then we back out operational cost, and then anything that's other supportive revenue like taxes, your rebate tax that you put there, any donations and grants get sort of put below the line. So you can start with a smaller revenue number, you have an expense, and then of course you're going to have some deficit, and then you have all these secondary revenue items to get to whatever the bottom line is. So I've just sort of rearranged how this looks. But you can start from 2009 and work your way to the left. You can see the top line is your fees, which is fees that are generated from people using the facility. And then I basically come down and start dropping in the different types of other non-direct charges or revenues that you earn, whether that's the rebate hotel motel tax that you've got dedicated there, or donations and grants. And then obviously one of the big ones was the building grant that you got back in 9 and 10 that helped you purchase the facility, which was fairly large. And so you just simply come on down, and you can see that you have different types of operational expenses. And I've broken them out into two categories, operating and depreciation. Depreciation representing basically the rateable expense of the purchase of your facility. And I'll get more on that in a moment, but I simply broke that out for a reason. And then you can see your total expenses and then what your net change is from a third-party standpoint. You know, total resources, money coming in, and as you look at simply on 2009, we were at $2,394,000 compared to your expenses of about $2,276,000, and you can see your bottom line was about $118,000. You did put some money in both 9 and 10 from a parish standpoint, and so your net overall bottom line for that year was right at about $791,000. And you can kind of see that from year to year, you know, what's occurring. I won't regurgitate all the numbers for you. But what I wanted to do was simply point out a few things that you need to keep in mind when you look at these numbers. You know, you come to the footnotes at the bottom. Here you can see I simply just broke out the funding that helped you purchase the facility, you know, state funding, and you also got some federal funding over those 2 years. And so basically the revenue associated with those grants are recorded in your revenue at the top, but we capitalized the purchase of the facility, which was at $7.5 million, and we just recognized that over a 30 or 40-year period. And so that's what the depreciation number is. So it's somewhat misleading when you look at these net bottom lines when you don't take that into account. You know, I look at 2010, it's got a net overall bottom line of just shy of $7.1 million. Well, you spent $6.6 million in that total funding at the bottom to buy the facility or pay off the obligation associated with buying the facility. So you really didn't net that. And so basically it brings me to my point on footnote number 2. What I'm doing here is taking that net bottom line, which is how you're supposed to do the accounting. So it's nothing inappropriate with how it's presented and how it gets captured in your audit. but you can't judge it simply on the bottom line number. So what I do under footnote 2 is I start with that net overall change, and I basically back out the building grant, because that's not something that would be utilized in the operation of the facility. And I do the same with the depreciation, so that if we take the revenue out, we take that associated expense out, and there's really 2 points to doing that. Taking the depreciation out makes sense because you use some external money from a grant to buy the facility. Even though we're required to recognize that expense over time, to judge it, you almost want to look at it without that expense in there.
Right.
And so simply coming down, you can see what the net cash flows are over that 5-year period of time, and I've simply put a cumulative amount for you for the 5 years. Now, what's included in here for 2009 and 10, you're at $75,000 in net bottom line cash flows, but that also includes a pretty large infusion of cash from the parish. So you can see that 673 at the top in terms of the parish support falls into that bottom line. And I'll hit on that just in a moment. But you can see it progressively increases over time while the parish support declines over time, which is a positive sign in terms of it becoming at least independent. Basically, if you come up to the top in terms of fees, you can see really what drove that is the amount of utilization over that period of time, that $1.5 million basically in 2009 up to $2.2 million in 2010, $1.9 million in fees in 2011. So that really drove you from having to utilize some sales tax or some other money coming over from the parish. If you move over to the next page, which is footnote number 3, simply looking at the net annual parish investment over this 5-year time period, you can see it was about $883,000. So simply to come back in, and you can almost net that against the cash flows on footnote number 2, you can see you still net pretty good. It's right at about $600,000 over that period of time. So basically what it's saying is the cash flows it's generating, even backing out some of the parish investment over this period of time, it's still netting a pretty large amount of money. And then simply you can see that as it grows in terms of your Lamar Dixon net worth on footnote number 4, that you started with roughly $820,000 in amounts that were invested in capital assets, and then unrestricted fund balance, which I would look at as your liquid assets, cash, any receivables, things like that. And basically you can see that how much that's grown over this period of time, which is pretty significant. What will happen is in terms of the investment in capital investment assets, you can see that's going to slowly decline over time because we're just going to depreciate that cost out over a long period of time. And the other thing, as I was meeting with Amanda and President Martinez, another item that we talked about that's not reflected in here is you do have some direct utilization and charges that doesn't make it into the Lamar Dixon pot of money. Roughly year-to-date through October 2013, there's about $67,000 of fees generated from rental of the gym, the chapel, and some of the fields that is being placed in your recreation fund. So it is some funds that is being utilized to support some other activities. It could reside here. I mean, it's sort of your discretion. It's earned money, so it's your discretion where you want to use it. But it is a sizable sum of money that's simply not being captured in the Lamar Dixon bucket of activity. But that's sort of it overall. I think a couple of things to look at is, the audit does reflect things the way you should handle it from an accounting perspective, but I think you got to peel the onion back and dig a little deeper to determine where it's going. And I think really the building activity, given the size of it and the amount of expense we're throwing in from a depreciation standpoint, can make it a little misleading, given the fact that, one, you got grant money, which was external to the parish to buy it, and then we're going to reflect a cost against the activity, which is it's proper. But here again, as I made decisions, I'd probably back that number out just to see what does it look like once you have that, don't have that number just in there.
Mr. President, did you have anything else?
I just asked if anybody has any questions on it while Tommy's here. I think it shows exactly what we've been saying, that even in 2009, we didn't take over Lamar Dixon activities till November. So the cash infusion that was put in there was basically to pay off a lot of the people that worked for SMG, the management company. We had to pay all their vacation. We had in that agreement that was signed in 2005 that we had to do some repairs to Lamar Dixon before it was turned back over from SMG. So a lot of the money, if you look back, yes, if you look at 2005, 6, 7, and 8, and actually 9, yeah, you lost money because we weren't managing it. But since then, I think Tommy will show you also and tell you that we've kept the expenses down to 2.3 pretty much steady
Right.
across the board, and our rentals have been going up. Now, we did have a spike in 2010, maybe in 11 with when BP was in and we rented to BP. But even if you take that out, we would still be on a financially sound basis. So, again, I don't know what's so bad about the finances there, but what I see maybe it's something different than somebody else is seeing.
Councilman Kluat?
Thank you, Tommy, for the report, and I just wanted to clear the air on it. And I'll tell you what, it's just like anything. There's some amenities for the people of Ascension Parish at Lamar Dixon that's never going to show up on a spreadsheet, okay? Some of the events that are hosted there, my God, we've got a page full of nonprofits, everything that's held for organizations within the parish that there's no charge for. And, you know, it's just a great facility. I know that they had a meeting probably close to 8 years ago or 9 years ago. I know somebody that sat in it, one of the leaders of the parish, and they're trying to figure out the goals for Lamar Dixon, and the main stumbling block was the business plan, okay? And I know that was a fear in a lot of people's hearts when we made the approach to Lamar Dixon. But through the hard work of the administration, we got into Lamar Dixon without cutting into the people's funds in Ascension Parish. And we've got plenty of improvements out there that we've got through grants that you guys have searched out and done, and we got some future grants pending out there, some other improvements. Mr. Martinez, yes, sir.
Yes,
I yield
have,
the floor to you, sir.
Mr. Goni Gotro and a couple other people that want to kind of go over these activities with you. And again, yes, right now we have almost $9 million worth of grants and money that we're going to be spending out there on construction, which we'll be hiring people to do that construction here in Ascension Parish. We made a big deal out of a $10 million deal that was going in Gonzales, which was good. But we're going to be spending, people don't realize, we're going to be spending $10 million at Lamar Dixon this year in grant money and creating a lot of jobs. So that's another thing that people don't realize. And I guess one thing that upsets me is that, we have a sock hop once a month. We have 400 to 600 people go to that sock hop from every district in this parish and from other parishes. And they enjoy it for senior citizens. I mean, there's all kind of things, but I'm going to let Gorney tell you all about that. But again, it's well utilized. And if you look at this, the whole picture, and if you go out there and actually spend some time and maybe volunteer for some of these events, you see what it means to the parish. So, but I would like to give Gorney an opportunity to speak.
Mr. Gotro?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Tom had asked us to do a breakdown. I put a folder on y'all's in front of y'all with all the different things that goes on in Lamar Dixon. We'd like to look at the additional apartments at Lamar Dixon. If y'all are aware of it, we've taken the technology from a trailer and a house and brought them to Lamar Dixon on the top of the gym and all, and they have facilities more probably last them for the next 8 or 10 years. They have extra offices, big conference room and everything. And they've been there for, I guess, 9 months or 10 months. And we've taken the utility department had nowhere to go, and we took the cardio room, if any of y'all have been in the gym, and I think we have 7 desks in there now and an office that they're working out of also. And they have the sewer treatment plant that they've bring some buildings in to store the equipment and all. The commissary, we have it listed to rented to the Louisiana Extension Service, $3,000 a month. Y'all had passed an ordinance last year before last, where we're going to try to get $5,000 a month for it. Economic development, through the economic development, we have Voodoo Barbecue, which is going to be opening up the first of the year with a year's lease, and as long as they keep the home office in Ascension Parish, they will be out there because they love it out there. They're getting everything set up, and we're getting $2,500 a month plus utilities. We also get the utilities from the commissary. The gym, we have a list of everything that goes on at the gym. Y'all can take it home with y'all and look at it. And it's how much stuff that's done at no charge, you know. And we have a nickel league out there that plays 2 nights a week now. We charge them $3.50 to come out and play basketball. And there's no air on the gym. And you can see on it that we pick up some pretty good money. And we also rent the gym to different things. We're taking in $25,561.55. The chapel is more probably we leased it. Rented it out about 13, let's see, I think we had 13 cancellations, so we rented it for 24 times. We had 13 people that changed their mind about getting married, most probably. But, you know, then the commissary brings in $36,000, which comes to about $99,000. Next year in 2014, we'll take in $30,000 from Voodoo Barbecue, plus utilities also, and that goes into the recreation department, not to Lamar Dixon. The next thing is the sock up that President Martinez just talked about. That's something, and I know y'all have heard me talk about it a lot of times, that the recreation, Mike Moeller is the recreation director, and he's doing a super job. We have a lot of volunteers, a lot of them are parish employees that come out once a month on Friday and help. We've had some council members come out and help. President Martinez, Sheriff Jeff Wiley, the Gemini Association, Harry Robert Insurance, Johnny Burflot. You know, that's the kind of people that sponsor these sock shops. Doesn't cost the parish anything, you know, other than maybe sometimes we have a paid employee out there, you know, working or something on that day. And we have a lot of volunteers, a lot of friends and relatives and all also. And on the next page, we got a list of all the events that they have in the gym with all the different things. And the next 3 or 4 pages, it's no charge stuff. And y'all be surprised how much stuff that comes out there. They have 3 football teams that practice out there now, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. And one team has 100-something players on it. One has right at 90, someone has 69, I think. So that's people that's out there almost every other day at least at Lamar Dixon, and that's people that never was out there before, and that's all people that lives in Ascension Parish. They come out there most of the time, the mamas and the dads and grandmas out there watching them practice, and it's being utilized. We just released, President Martinez got Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries to come out, and we released a whole lot of rainbow trout. So you know I'm not a fisherman, you know. And all you need is use the niblet corn. Y'all can catch more probably all the fish y'all want, because they'll live to more probably March, April, or May. Then we go to Lamar Dixon, and where we've listed with y'all with everything that we've taken in. If it's like the balloon festival or the livestock show, the sportsman show over there. The sportsman show takes about a week to get ready, and it lasts a week. And we have, I think, 4 or 5 people that's exempt, and I know we put in 70, 80 hours getting ready for it, and we're out there 70, 80 hours doing it while it's going on. And they do a great job. We got some great people that work for us at Lamar Dixon. They don't mind pitching in. And if you look at the back, towards the back, we have, I think, 3 pages. There's no charge stuff. Like Randy was saying and President Martinez, we do a lot of stuff in the community. We have a lot of people that's using Lamar Dixon now that never used it before until we bought it. You know, we've replaced a lot of equipment in there that we had lost some roping shows and stuff. We've got new roping chutes and lots of additions to it. If you go out and look at it, we just finished striping the center. And we'd like for y'all, I'll invite y'all to come out and let us take y'all on a tour of Lamar Dixon and show y'all you know, what we've done. This report will be done by Lamar Dixon every December now. If y'all want it quarterly or yearly, you know, we can do it to y'all for y'all too. But we will definitely be meeting here on December to give y'all a complete report on everything. If you look at what the RV rentals are coming in, it's really good, and it's getting better.
All right, thank you, Garney. And also, the Boy Scouts use it just about every other weekend. Sometimes I've been out there when they've had 600 or 700 in their families and camp out, and that's at no charge. And anybody wants to call them up, I'll bring them in here and I'll line them up, and we can keep walking around here for days. Benny knows that. He's been out there when all this goes on. And next, I'd like Mr. Bacala to come up and tell us from a public safety standpoint, what does Lamar Dixon mean to Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, Gonzales Police Department, and the state overall?
Well, first of all, you know, every time as years go by, we keep figuring out new ways to utilize Lamar Dixon in a capacity of public safety and public service. Certainly, I don't think we figured out all the ways that it is a benefit to our community yet. So I'll tell you what we've used it for, and I can tell you we'll be using it for other things in the future just that we have not encountered. Certainly everybody in this room knows that it was command central for Hurricane Katrina, no doubt. I mean, there were 2,000 law enforcement officers that reported to Lamar Dixon, lived at Lamar Dixon, and deployed out of Lamar Dixon to every place in South Louisiana that needed law enforcement officers. Hundreds went to St. Bernard Parish, probably thousands went to Orleans Parish. And you know what? If you, it's geography. It sits in an ideal location when you talk about a hurricane impact. I mean, it's far enough away from the coast that it remains unscathed. There always has. And we've taken probably the biggest hits we've ever had in Ascension Parish, and it's stayed there. And the people in New Orleans don't know what Lamar Dixon did for them, and the people in St. Bernard may not know, but we know. And the people that came in from Oklahoma and Arizona and every other part of this country know what Lamar Dixon is and know what kind of operation is run out of there. It's a big asset. And we served not only Ascension, but we served South Louisiana in a very, very significant way. Now, you know, we talk about our latest encounter, Isaac, and the rain events we had. That was in Ascension Parish. Certainly other places were impacted more than Ascension Parish was, but we know that we had flooding and we had threats of flooding. We know that. Sandomal was in danger of going under, so we thought, and it was touch and go. And I think Mr. Rue can speak to that better than I can, but you know what? Lamar Dixon was a central location where we sandbagged 24/7 basically for several days. You know why you can do that? When you have a roof where you can put people. And I can tell you, if you went out there were probably 50 inmates with shovels filling up sandbags. Now, you just can't do that anywhere. Matter of fact, I don't know anywhere else you can do it in Ascension Parish in an environment that's enclosed and safe, in a place that you'd want 50 inmates filling up sandbags. How many did we fill? I don't know, tens of thousands of sandbags. Yes. And you know what? It used to be, if you needed sand, if you called for sand, somebody would come with a truck, dump it in your yard, throw you a bunch of bags, and the guy out there whose house was about to be flooded had to shovel as quickly as he could and tie as quickly as he could. And we just made that the kind of operation you'd want it to be because of Lamar Dixon. And I think we even got to the point where we were loading pallets, so if somebody could drive up, dump a pallet in their back of their pickup truck, drive home. Now, in that particular case, we got lucky. And we fill more bags than we needed. I'd a whole lot rather have more bags than less bags. And we dodged a bullet. Next time we may not be so lucky, and that asset may prove to be the asset of Ascension Parish. It saves neighborhoods, not just houses, but whole neighborhoods. Could be. That's the kind of place we see Lamar Dixon as. Now, on a day-to-day basis, I should say more month to month, We partner with you guys. Every day we partner with you. We send crews out to Lamar Dixon trying to be a good partner and trying to save the parish government money, all right, by providing labor. And I think that's been a pretty good arrangement, and I think you'll see that it's a significant financial savings to parish government every month, and over time it's going to be real dollars. But we know it's our partnership, and part of our partnership, not only do we provide, but we also receive. You know, we train. Every guy that you see in a police car is trained in a police car to drive. How do you drive safely, and particularly how do you pursue somebody safely? That takes place at Lamar Dixon in the parking lot. We lay out courses. They're not tough, and we spend 2 days out there driving. We do it for everybody. We recertify every couple of years. You know what? Baton Rouge discovered Lamar Dixon because of us, and some other surrounding agencies. So it's really utilized by law enforcement, sort of regionally, okay, that a lot of other agencies come here and train at Lamar Dixon. Nearly everybody we hire for an enforcement position or a jail position finds their way to Lamar Dixon at some point in time to do PT testing. Thank you. We set up a course in the gym. We're generally in and out of there about 3 hours, so we're not getting in anybody's way, but it's important that we be able to do that. We could do it somewhere else, but it's just really nice to go right across the street from our training center and have a kind of facility that we can do those sorts of things at. I could kind of continue to list the things, and I will, and I don't want to monopolize the microphone by going too deeply into these things. Just, if you don't mind, I'll editorialize from a personal standpoint. Everything that government does certainly is, you know, if you build a baseball park, you don't build it to make money. You don't build it to break even. You know it's going to cost you something, all right? It is. It's a service you provide, and it's not free. But it's what we do. It's what government does, provide services. And I think Lamar Dixon is the same. You know, thus far, it's President Martinez and I have chatted, and he's kind of indicated it's actually running and making money. If it didn't make money, what do we provide to the service of the public that does? I can't think of anything. Just a point I wanted to editorialize again and just make that point that just because it isn't free don't mean it's not good, in my opinion. Any questions? Thank you.
Call Rick Weber, please.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to take a few minutes to give you a quick emergency management overview of Lamar Dixon. Since its construction, I think in 1996, it's been used for every declared emergency in southeast Louisiana. But prior to 2009, the parish didn't have a legal responsibility for Lamar Dixon. So emergency management contracts couldn't be entered into. We couldn't request FEMA public assistance when we needed to do so because we didn't have that legal authority over the facility. All that changed since the parish purchased Lamar Dixon. Since the Deepwater Horizon incident, Hurricane Isaac, and a bunch of other little incidents that we had, over $1.5 million has been generated in disaster-related revenue. These incidents are cyclical. They happen every year. They're not going to go away. But in one way or another, we've got every square foot of Lamar Dixon accounted for during a large-scale disaster. So I can pull up this map that you have on your screen now and give you just a quick overview of what comes out there. If you see the blue area on the map, that's the Bureau of EMS. That's over 200 ambulances that transfer in from throughout the country. They stage at the banquet room. That's where the shelter is. That's where they mobilize. That's where they demobilize. We use the vendor rooms for the disaster recovery centers, the Louisiana National Guard, Energy, DEMCO. And the map doesn't even show what we do with the CDC. I mean, the CDC will come in here. We are the designated receiving, staging, storage area for vaccines and antibiotics that come in from the CDC. DHH is interested in what we're doing. They've directed nearly $1 million from the HMGP funding to put generators at Lamar Dixon to power up the entire facility. So it's very critical to emergency management, and I don't know of one emergency manager that wouldn't want it in the backyard. And it's just critical to what we do. So other than being subject to you and the council's questions, this concludes the briefing. Any questions?
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
That concludes what we have, and as I said, you know, a lot of people, I think, have misconceptions about Lamar Dixon. We don't go out and brag on it every day, what we do out there, and there's a lot of other activities. You can go out there any day. There's people walking their dogs out there. We provide archery classes to kids out there. We provide fishing year-round if someone wants to fish. We have open access there. Sanamo High School, Dutchtown High School, call those guys, call the coaches. Anytime there's inclement weather, like Dutchtown this year when they were in the playoffs, it was raining. They wanted to use, last year it was EA wanted to use it. Some of the baseball teams use it sometimes when they're in the playoffs. So again, it's just something that, as I said, I can't imagine how anyone that would really know what goes on out there can't see where it's a big asset, not only to Ascension Parish, but to this region. And I believe in it, and I said when we bought it that it wasn't going to cost us any money. And if you look, the past 3 years, it has not cost this parish any money. The last 4 years, it cost you $200,000, but now you have a plus $1.2 million in the bank. So doesn't matter how we get there. The bottom line is there, and you know, we're going to do what it takes to stay there, and we're going to give back to the community. If we get to a certain point, we're going to give back to the community, whatever we have to give back to the community. So, again, hopefully this answers all the questions. Hopefully we won't have to go through this again unless you want to do it every quarter. We can go through it and show what it's going to add. We haven't even talked about the livestock, anything else, the equestrian events out there, any of that kind of stuff. So, again, do me a favor, if you want to know more, go out there and sit down and talk to them and go take a tour of the facility.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilman Kluwat.
Parish President, administration, staff of Lamar Dixon, thank y'all very much. And Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, OEP, Tommy, thank you for the presentation. I didn't know the exact numbers, but I wanted everybody to know the jewel that we have. I've been to facilities with equestrian and livestock, and several people in here have, up and down the Gulf South. And that's a jewel in that sense that some places don't have. We would have lost the Louisiana State LSU livestock show several years back had not been for Lamar Dixon being with the parish. And there was some strong debate all the way up to the state capitol. And the place that lost out is pretty much not doing good anymore. So it's a little bit farther north. Well, like I said, once more, the only way to know what's at Lamar Dixon is get involved, like Tommy said, or go out there. Take a look around, get Flo or somebody, Miss Flo or one of these guys to give you a tour of that, just give you an idea of what's going on out there. The Boy Scouts, I know I've been out for several things. I grew up going to Camp Avondale. Well, I'm going to tell you what, this is the Camp Avondale of the South right here, South Louisiana. And, you know, I'm 100% behind the Boy Scouts. We've got something, and the Girl Scouts. We've got something for those folks to be doing that's very constructive. We have to make an investment in the youth in our parish and to continue to deliver some good recreational stuff for the parish. Lamar Dixon is the perfect opportunity to do whatever you want to do in it. And I just want to close. I'm listening to the TV the other night, and for the last couple of months with events that are at Lamar Dixon. Well, if you're in Ascension Parish and you're not proud of Lamar Dixon, they got some parishes outside that are very proud of Lamar Dixon because there are agencies out of Baton Rouge and the 5 parish surrounding areas that are having events, and all the way down from New Orleans area that coming up to have events. And they're promoting Lamar Dixon and telling people, you know, because it's that close to their agency and they can actually have the events there. So it's just great. And if you've been to an outdoor show, I love that. So that's one of the best shows they got out there. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Councilman Satterley and then Councilman Schexnayder.
Yeah, I want to thank President Martinez for the report. It's no secret I would have been one of the guys primarily asking for it, although other councilmen were as well. A little bit of fussing, though. I really would have liked to have seen this a lot earlier than 2 seconds before we go on camera tonight so I could study it. But for little time I've had to take a look at it, just a couple of questions and comments. And this is becoming, I think, more and more obvious to me, or maybe it's not. Maybe I need to stand corrected. But when the citizens tell me it's a loss or not, and just using that word by itself, I think is problematic, because it looks to me from what Mr. Lejeune has handed out here moments ago, a loss can be looked at in two ways. One way would be in actual operation, which I think is the definition the public is constantly using. In other words, what are my revenues coming in? What are my expenses going out? Is that a positive or negative number? No fuzzy math, simple arithmetic. Versus, is the facility, as the president and Mr. Lejeune and others have pointed out, actually making money? And then the answer is, well, beyond operating monies, yes, because of the fact that you have these rebate taxes, these donations and grants, et cetera. And I've heard it said that that doesn't matter, but, and I'm not going to, don't shoot the messenger, shoot the message, because we're going to be getting into this in a couple items down the line. But the reality is, without those grants, which the public believes is their money anyway, because they pay the taxes that provides this money to, I'm looking at the sources of it, State of Louisiana, it says on the source of funds, HUD, CDBG, and HUD again, mentioned twice. There's no doubt that that was the money that was used to buy the facility. Now, that's a problem, too, I'm finding. The word that was in, and I'll pull the resolution up, it didn't say, let's vote on buying, maintaining, and developing Lamar Dixon. What it said back when the parish decided to purchase it over the vote of the people was the word acquire, not buy. And acquire, of course, can mean many things. You can get it by, I'm not going to use that word and get in trouble again with my esteemed colleague, Mr. Cluot, Hook and Crook, but, somebody could just donate it. I don't think the Dixons were interested in doing that. They wanted $7.5 million, and that's what they got. Of course, acquire can mean with grant monies versus using the people's money. And we've just been over grant money is the people's money. When you pay 8.5 cents sales tax, we all know 4 cents comes off the top and goes to the state, and then 4.5 cents goes to the parish. So it depends on how you want to look at it. It's the people's money anyway. The people are the parish, and the people are the state, and whether we like it or not, we're also a part of the federal government. So I just want to point this out. For 2013, because we're going to be talking about this in a minute, and I'm not even sure it's going to be in the number. This council may decide, I hope they don't, but I feel reasonably confident they probably will, to bail out the AFCC for their 158,000 or whatever the number is now, 145,000 of the Balloon Festival loss held at Lamar Dixon. And I know it's in the agenda to talk about the parish eating $100,000 of that money over the $50,000 granted already. If we look at the numbers that were given to me, and I haven't had a little time to study this, 2013, it's projected, and I guess that's because we ain't finished. This is going to be our last meeting, but got a few more days left in 2013 before we bring in the new year. It says in there that the operating revenue fees was $1,613,236, and then I won't read the laundry list. These rebate taxes and donations and stuff largely contributing brings the total resource non-operating revenue to $2,103,409. If we take the expenses reported by Mr. Lejeune's report and look at the total expenses, it's $2,308,252. We subtract $2.3 million from 2.1. We got a net change, as he called it, third party of $204,000. And again, I'm not sure that includes the $100,000 that we may vote in a matter of minutes to put into the Lamar Dixon bailout program, which would bring it to $300,000. And I think, in fairness, I'm going to defend the public here. That's what they're talking about. Now, we can go all the way down to the bottom and say, oh, yeah, but it has a net cash flow of $122,000 for the year and so forth. But that's because that number, $204,843 in the red, operating, has the depreciation number in it of $300,000 and so forth. And we can do the same scenario for the other years. 2011, for example, is an operating loss. I'm not sure. 2012, it shows that there's some gain there and so forth, but it's small type money. So, again, don't shoot the messenger. Shoot down the message, and let's just have vigorous and healthy and intelligent discussion about this, what we want to do going forward with Lamar Dixon. As a business enterprise, I think that's why the Dixons sold a 50-something million dollar facility for $7.5 million. And I think it's why Bob Oden didn't want to buy it for $5 million back when he had a chance as well. And we've kind of, and I've looked at that. On the second page, Mr. LeJeune, it talks about the net worth of the facility now is $7.814 million. Well, that's just about $300,000 in total after 5 years of this ownership, or I should say 4. I think Tommy said Mr. Martinez said that we got it in November of that first year, 2009. So it's worth $7.8 million. We paid $7.5. It's certainly not any big, huge money maker like we're talking about. That being said, I think that in the future, for my part, will try to be very careful talking about it, whether it's an operational loss or whether it's an actual gain because we have these other grants and so forth. And by the way, being a grants getter, a very large one for 35 years at LSU, I know what it's like to depend on the NIH and the NSF, National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, the USDA to get grants. I employed 23 people at one time in my lab, and I'm very proud of that. I wasn't proud the day when that soft money ran out and I had to tell them you're all fired. And I'm not saying that's going to happen here. Maybe we can do this indefinitely, but I don't think we can always depend upon, and I appreciate what Mr. Bacala had to say, the BP and things like that that are going to bring monies into the situation. But again, Tommy, I thank you for bringing the information forward, and perhaps on at least some of the issues we might still have to agree to disagree. I wish I had a little more time to study it, and I will. And if I have more questions, I'll get back. Mr. Chairman, thank you for listening.
Mr. Sextoner.
I want to follow that. People I see on the street every day just tells me thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being able to go to Lamar Dixon. Thank you for when I go to Lafourche, when I go to Terrebonne, when I go to St. Bernard, when I go to Livingston Parish, they said, man, so you're in Ascension Parish? That's where Lamar Dixon is. Boy, we'd love to have something like that. Thank you. We would do anything for that. How did y'all get that? That's what I hear. I hear the kids, I hear the parents, go to the sock hop, see what they think. Go talk to those people. Go to Lamar Dixon and find out. That's what I say. People that don't support Lamar Dixon just don't go there, so it doesn't matter. I'm curious now, Mr. Tommy. A couple question. Can you come to the mic, please? Yes. We're talking about the Lamar Dixon net worth. In 2009, it was $959,000. That's what the parish had put into it, basically. And now the net worth is $7,814,000, right? And that's what acquired capital without raising any taxes or anything like that.
That's right.
So it has increased about $7 million since that time.
Right.
My question, without raising any taxes from the people, my question is, what is the actual appraised value of the property? We keep saying the property is worth $7 million.
Right.
If you had to put it on the market tomorrow.
Yeah, what would the land be worth? What would
Right.
Yeah. It would
I mean,
certainly be more worth, as I can appreciate, it would be worth more than the $7.5 million that it's recorded at.
Mr.
But that's what you
President?
bought it for.
If I recall, the last time when we appraised it, when we were actually looking at it, was $34 million.
Okay. So now we have something that's worth $34 million, as opposed to what is insinuated that it's only worth $7.8 million in the last 4 years.
That was your purchase price.
Mr. Martinez, thank you very much for this parish, for utilizing this facility and having assets that now has grown from what the parish put in through grant money received from the state and the federal government of $7 million and $7.5 million, and now it's worth $34 million plus the $7.8 million that are capital assets, plus the $10 million that we're going to get for improvements pretty soon, which will make it a climate control thing, which, as I've spoken to the rodeo people up in Lafourche, they are so tickled pink. They said they can use it in July and August now. They're really excited about it. And this has happened since we've managed it. And there's something that was always said by President Martinez is that, we get where the parish can manage it, we're going to take care of people's money, because I believe in taking care of people's money and making value. So I really do appreciate that, and it strikes a chord whenever, when people don't put the true numbers down. I also like to say, and like congratulations, Parish President, for what you've done to Old State Fairgrounds in Donaldsonville. It was getting ready to be let go and sold, and it's a great facility there. We've already done some improvements. There's some more improvements, and I guarantee you, there's not a positive fund balance there because, I mean, it's negative. You just don't have those activities. But I tell you one thing, the people in Donaldsonville and the people in all the West Bank different parishes really enjoy coming there. It's a great facility for parks, and we're looking forward to some of the improvements we're going to have. So I'd like to thank you for that, too. That's something that never gets mentioned enough. And the other thing is I want to go in front of everybody, and a special thanks to Mr. Garner Gotro, not just for Lamar Dixon, but from the parish of Ascension Parish for all that you've done for recreation. And I'm not going to name everything because most of you know Garner's too old to be naming everything he did. But I want to go on. I know you set to retire soon. I want to be one of the first ones to publicly by the end of the year to let people know what you've done and done a great job lately in Lamar Dixon and the sock ops. I know that's one of your big things, and you're the parish president. So thank you, Mr. Thomas, for clearing stuff up. That now we got a appraised value of $34 million plus the capital assets that we have there. It's a pretty good deal, and I really thank the parish president, no matter for going out and making this a positive thing, and it's continued to be in the near future. So if somebody else comes in, whatever they do, and they can't make it go, shame on them, because you have an opportunity, and we've shown them the way it can be done. So thank you very much.
Councilman Joseph.
Yeah, I just want to, say thank you, but the bottom line is, it's about the money, Mr. President. You know that. The public don't know. And that's how I come up, once again. When they don't know, and I know Lamar Dixon is your baby. I know you love it. So, but you made a comment earlier, if you can do a quarterly review like this here on Lamar Dixon, it would be greatly appreciated, for us, the council and the public. I mean, as you can, as we all see, the number is in the positive. So, I mean, it only can get better. So, the only thing I can say, thank you for the report. Thank you for the all the hard work you've been putting in Lamar Dixon. But my request is just to do a quarterly review and let the public know what's going on. That's all. Thank you.
And I would just say that the grant money you're talking about is now in a bill, so we guaranteed to get 75% of that money every year to put into Lamar Dixon. And if we choose to, we can certainly use some of it to do other things. And that is a guarantee every year. And I don't see them building less motels here. I see more, and that's going to continually go up. And, I think the future's bright. I think that eventually it'll be a lot more money. And I'll go out on a limb and say that. I would say this year they've got at least 2 or 3 more hotels that are online, and I know there's 2 more planned. So, again, the bottom line in government, we don't have any other, and I'll challenge Mr. Lejeune to this, any other department that generates 85% of its funds. Okay? And if we want to make it evenly better, we can take the money away from recreation that will have to come out of general fund, which will probably amount to about $100,000 a year. So if we want to make the numbers look good on paper and positive all the way through, we can do that too from an operating standpoint. But again, since we are doing it and recreation doesn't have any established funding, this is an opportunity for us to give to recreation. So Doc and I may never agree on this, but I tell you what, we'll argue about it till at least one of us is gone. So,
Councilman Leverett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to sit here and let this go by, but I was on board whenever we were dealing with Commissioner Oldham. We were on our knees begging for extra money, trying to get Lamar Dixon, and never once. He said, look, y'all get the place, we'll get activities and stuff there. We'll try our best. Every police jury convention we go to, our current Mike Strain, he says, man, thank y'all for doing what y'all doing out there. So there's never been anyone down Lamar Dixon from our state all the way down to where we at now. So, you know, Mr. Odom is gone. He was with us 100%, and I appreciate him from that. And our current Mike Strain, he's with us 100%. So we housing some of his folks, so I appreciate that.
Councilman Satterley.
Yeah, I don't want to make this a lengthy process, Mr. Chairman, but thanks for a second round. And relative to President Martinez's comment about Doc and I will always argue, perhaps that's so, maybe not until one of us is gone. I hope he doesn't mind, but he's been on record with me and others saying that he's not running again. So in 2 years, I am. I want to let everybody know that. And I've let my people know, and you're going to hear from them when we get to the Lamar Dixon item shortly, because I've got close to 50 emails from them. They're not happy campers. I just want to make a comment, and again, I appreciate Mr. Scheck-Snyder, your comment, well, he's not here, about the appraisal and the extra worth of the facility and so forth. I had to wonder while I was hearing that I wonder how many people in this audience are out at home looking at TV, feel like their home has appreciated 500%, 7.5 million up to, what was the number, 34 million I heard a minute ago. Perhaps the Dixon shouldn't have sold it, or whatever, we're doing better. And that's notwithstanding our capital improvements. I had a constituent tell me recently, Doc, I've had my house with these interest rates refinanced twice in the last 5 years. Major differences. You know, you don't do that just trivially. I mean, you have to, they say, at least to recover your closing costs and all, you know, at least have a 2% change. But, you know, we all know that's happened since Mr. Obama's been a president. So he's done that. Unfortunately, his appraisal, not his tax bill, by the way, has actually gone down each time, despite him putting in over $100,000 worth of improvements in a house that cost around $300,000. So, I don't know, man. I hope my house is worth 5 times more than it was 5 years ago. But, yeah, Tommy, we may continue to argue. But I want to thank the council so far. I hope this spirit continues when we get into which I believe is going to be a rigorous discussion shortly. I introduced my comments with, don't shoot the messenger, attack, if you care to, the message. Because there are some folks that think about this differently. Thanks a lot.
Councilman Kluwat.
I'll yield to Mr. President.
I just want to say, Doc, on the appraised deal,
That's wrong.
I mean, we can't put it down as an asset for more than we paid for it. So 7.5 is all we could actually put it. So as far as actual appraisal, that's not the actual appraisal. I mean, that's as a government standard and government rules of the way they
I understand, but be careful, because you're telling the people tonight it's worth $35,000, they may tell you to sell it.
No, I said what it appraised for 3 years ago. So,
Right.
again, you can twist things all you want, but
No,
the real numbers are
not
there.
me.
Councilman
I'm
Satterley,
not
President
twisting-
has the floor. Hold on.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
twisting anything.
So
Mr.
all I'm
President.
saying is that this could go on forever, and we can twist it, and you can give your version, I can give you mine. But, hey, we'll save that for another day.
I want to close with some comments. I just have got to chime in here, my opinion. I can't believe we're still actually having the debate about whether or not Lamar Dixon was the right move or not. When we got it for free, without taxes, when the parish president has clearly illustrated with this presentation tonight, and the other people in the community who are involved with it, what a tremendous benefit it has been. If you, in my opinion, if you think that Lamar Dixon was a bad move, you are either uninformed or lack vision. And I'm not ashamed to say that, afraid to say that, and I will say that to anybody who thinks otherwise. I'm looking forward to continuing to see Lamar Dixon provide tremendous value to the community, and especially with the area of recreation, as we've discussed recently. I think it's a very smart business move that we made, and I think it, even more than that, is providing quality of life, which is the point, as Chief Deputy Bacala explained earlier. That's what government's about. It's about providing service. And I appreciate all the effort, Mr. President, that you personally have put into this over the years. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item.
I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We were gonna do that,
I didn't get to get that in, but at this
Merry
point, I want to wish you all, you guys and your families, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and all the people in Ascension Parish. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Tommy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll move on to the consent agenda, item number 6. The chair would entertain a motion to move on that.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Kluwat. Any discussion? Any objections? Consent agenda is adopted. Item number 7, under committee recommendations. Number 7 is the 2014 nonprofit appropriations applications, recommendations from the nonprofit appropriations subcommittee. Before I get to Councilman Satterley, I have 2 speakers. Actually, this is on item 7D. These 2 are on 7D, so if you would just pause for a minute when you get to 7D, we'll go ahead and start with 7A, Mr. Satterley.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't be redundant tonight because the same persons that serve, obviously, on the Finance Committee 100% serve on the full parish council. So you've already heard the process. I gave an historical accounting of that last time. Again, I won't be redundant and repeat that of what happened over the full year, all the way up to and including when we met as a committee to score and rank the applications. So I'll begin with, and I understand from the chairman we have to do this individually as opposed to all the applicants we had, which, by the way, were 6, although your program, the agenda, shows A through D. We actually have E and F, and Chris has directed me to go ahead and add those 2 at the end, so I will. But we start first with the River Road African American Museum and the recommendation of the committee. Let me also just repeat those. I will be redundant there. The committee was, for those not aware, was myself, chairman appointed by the chairman of the Finance Committee, Terry Casso, who also served as another council member to the committee. We had Ms. Martha Collins serving with us from the Parish Grants Office, Ms. Dawn Cavallero from the Financial Department, and Ms. Williams, an outsider, if you will, retired individual that worked in BASF and did a whole lot of community service work, and I talked about that last time, so I won't get into her credentials, but I thought she was highly qualified, and like the rest of my committee, again, thanks. I think they did a lot of hard work. So back to A, River Road African American Museum. The recommendation of the nonprofit appropriations subcommittee was funding at the level of $40,000.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Turner. Any discussion? Any opposition?
I object.
Okay, have 1 objection.
And discussion.
Discussion, Councilman Kluwat?
Yeah, I object based on the amount given for the total spread. That right now it's at 67,000. We had appropriated 100,000 to move in that direction for all the nonprofits. The subcommittee came back with 67,000 worth of appropriations that they recommended, and 40,000 of it's going to the African American Museum. I object to that based on that dollar amount.
Okay. Any other objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Item 7B, the Special Tuesday, the committee recommended a funding level of $5,000.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Lawson. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion passes.
7C is the River Region Art Association. Subcommittee recommended a funding level of $8,000.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Joseph,
Second.
second by Councilman Kluwat. Discussion. Councilman Joseph.
Yes. Doc, if you can help me out here on this, these funding that the other 2, Special Tuesday and River, what they requested, and if you can just, one of the reasons why they didn't get fully funded, or did they get fully funded? That's all.
I believe you'll find in your packet, if you tap on it, all the requested amounts are listed, Mr. Joseph, as well as the recommended funding amounts in 2 separate columns. If you want me to read them into the record, I could do that. Which 2 are you mostly interested in, or?
We on River Region right now. They requested 10,000.
10,000, and the recommendation was for 8,000.
Correct. And the reason why they didn't fully fund it.
Well, I brought along the minutes of the meeting prepared by Ms. Martha Collins. Let's take a look and see. You're asking about about River Region Art.
Yes.
The committee, these are broad stab things. We can obviously bring the scorecards forward and the actual numbers that each of the 5 committee members generated. And I will be redundant, even though I said I would be. Let me also add that the vote was always unanimous, 5-0 at all funding levels. And if you recall from last time, that included the group that didn't get funded, one group that got full funding in terms of what they requested, and 4 groups that got not 100% but partial funding from what they requested. The comments were a cultural program is needed in this proposal. There were excellent support documents. We obviously looked at the good and the bad. The committee felt like that we had directed in our materials in the packet given out for the granting that we wouldn't fund things like instructors, judges, and salaries. Preferred not to be funded, and the budget asked for that. The committee felt like there wasn't a overly well-defined project, period. Instead, it was, and a lot of the people suffered for this. They seem to just want money for just all the projects they're doing. One group had, for example, like 10 projects. So give me a little bit for this one, give me a little bit for that one, give me a little bit for that one type thing. The budget was mostly operational fees, which the committee thought should be for specific projects instead. And the budget should, the committee felt, not include overhead administrative costs.
Okay, Doc, thanks for that information, Doc.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any objections? That motion passes. 7D, volunteer ascension. I have 2 speakers. The first is Ms. Gwen Price.
Good evening. My name is Gwen Price. I'm the Director of Middle Schools for Ascension Parish Schools, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Dr. Pugel, the Superintendent of Schools, who's unable to make it here on behalf of Volunteer Ascension. And Volunteer Ascension is an exceptional community partner with our Ascension Parish school system. It greatly benefits the students in our district by working with the school tools and the school uniform programs. This year, they were able to supply uniforms to over 1,200 students in the school district that probably wasn't able to receive any uniforms to school. Also, they have a wonderful program called Connect Teens, where this year we had 72 of our teenage kids in our school system that was impacted in this program that gave over 1,179 volunteer hours to 15 different agencies in this district, where we help these kids to build habits of community responsibility and improve the quality of life in our citizens. And that is the one thing that we all want to do, is to provide lifelong learners and well-rounded citizens who will give back to our students in the district, so that Ascension Parish will continue to be the great place where it is to live and be. So on behalf of Superintendent Pugel, we thank you for your support of Volunteer Ascension. I am currently a board member of Volunteer Ascension, and it is just a wonderful, outstanding organization that just impacts and has worked tremendously with our system. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Next, we have Amy Claude Johnson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Council, Mr. President. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you on behalf of Ascension, Volunteer Ascension this evening. As I understand, the Nonprofit Appropriations Subcommittee is recommending tonight that Volunteer Ascension receive only 52% of its requested funding assistance. I know that many of you are aware of Volunteer Ascension's record of providing volunteers, goods, and services to those in need in our community, and that their highly visible and worthwhile programs continue to positively impact those less fortunate in our community. I will not reiterate those facts and figures. What I'd like to do is to elaborate on how Volunteer Ascension is not just a stuff the bus and uniforms program organization. It is an organization that serves a vital function in our community every day, outside of these specific programs and initiatives. They often assist many other nonprofit organizations in achieving their goals. Volunteer Ascension, through every interaction, is building a necessary network. This network serves a variety of roles and purposes. It connects people in need with individuals, agencies, and organizations in our community that can help. It inspires our youth, residents, and these same groups to engage and work together to help our community through volunteerism to positively impact our lives. It is sometimes the only resource point available that can mobilize and close a gap in services when an individual or our community is in need. At the Ascension Emergency Operations Center, I am the Operations Section Chief, and it is my role to understand our response agencies, their capabilities and resource needs, then assist or coordinate between these agencies to meet our mission objectives. I wish to especially point out that Volunteer Ascension has long been a critical component of our preparedness, response, and recovery capability and resource planning for incident and events impacting Ascension Parish. They are a permanent member of our EOC staff, taking the lead in staffing our VOAD, or voluntary organizations, active in disaster seat. They have been instrumental, and I repeat that again, instrumental, in assisting us in our preparedness efforts by identifying organizations within the parish that have specialized skill sets, resources, and manpower that can and do have a desire to offer assistance to our community when incidents impact us. They were instrumental in assisting with our shelter management program this year as well. During an incident response, they are a vital component of our Human Services branch in the EOC, which the focus there is mass care, health and hospitals, and sheltering services. Once again, their knowledge and network have been invaluable in closing a gap in service to our residents and community. They are trained and will staff our volunteer reception center. Recovery can be a short or long-term road. Once again, Volunteer Ascension is a part of that. And identification, collection, and distribution of donations and human service needs. I ask that you consider the greater value Volunteer Ascension adds to our community outside their top programs every day, that their door is open, another connection is made that may be the critical one for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Satterley.
Chris, you're looking for the recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, my laptop fried, but I'll look it up over here in a minute. We're doing Volunteer Ascension? 15. You want both figures now, or just the?
Yes.
The requested was $15,378. The funded recommendation was $8,000.
Okay. Councilman Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend our budget for the Ascension, Volunteer Ascension, to bring them to the $15,378, which would be
I second it.
Okay.
$7,378.
I had a motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert to go with the requested amount of $15,378 and a second by Councilman Shake Snyder. Discussion. Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, I guess I got a question. I don't know if someone here can answer that. What are the other entities in the parish paying to sponsor this program? Like the school board, City of Gonzales, or any of them doing any sponsors? Nobody here to answer that?
We're also doing a free dress fundraiser within the school system, and each school participates with that.
Sherry, do you mind coming to the mic? I'm sorry.
Because I'm sure the committee came to a figure for some reason, and that's why I'm wondering if other entities are putting up also, because we do a lot with the schools and
Right.
city programs also. So.
Currently, we have, as I was saying, with the free dress days within the school system, that is a way for the kids within the schools to be able to take part in our school uniforms and also our school supplies. And that's been a way that we've been able to get the school, the parish involved with that. We also have with Stuff the Bus, that's highly publicized, and we take donations during that day. There are companies that come during the day and drop off supplies and also monetary donations during that time. We also collect supplies in front of Walmarts on a couple of weekends prior to school starting, where we're also collecting. There's also monetary donations that are being given to us at that time. And every year it's a little bit different, and that's part of the problem too. We don't know exactly where those funds will be coming from each year, but there's always a company or a business or an organization or a group that is willing to step up and help us. So we're not alone in that.
Appreciate the good, keep
Sure.
up the good work.
Councilman Joseph.
Yeah, I guess starting back with Ascension volunteering is that I know every year they come here and ask for $25,000. And talking to the president and doing a little research, that we helped created that
Right.
organization. And so we was like the main force of sourcing. And once again, I have to commit to the committee. They did a great job. I mean, it was something we really needed to try to put in line here. But I think, once again, it's one of those things we find after the fact that some of these organizations have been in a intergovernmental agreement, so what we can say, or we created them, and so we was like basically like responsible for them. And now we are debating or wondering, did we fully fund them the way they should be or not? But that's one of the things I wanted to bring out. And Mr. President, if you have any comment that, if I'm wrong on it, let me know, please.
You're not wrong. Actually, it was started in the 90s through the Points of Light Foundation. I think Martha Collins went to California, and I can't think of the other lady's name. Darlene Dendorf was actually, who worked for the parish, was actually the first director after. And Miss Harriet had went up, and that's how it was created. Great organization. Went to the Special Tuesday event this week, and they were there. They cooked the jambalaya, they cooked the gumbo, and had volunteers serving and doing those type things. And that's what they do. They volunteer. They don't have one special project. They probably have 100 projects that they do a year. So, and they help in the schools. And anytime we have any events that we ask for volunteers, they certainly work with us there.
Councilwoman Cazzo, then Councilman Sauerly.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. Having been a part of the committee, I want to say that, as Councilman Satterley mentioned in the Finance Committee meeting when we discussed this, there was perhaps an anomaly in this situation. This was the first time that we had done this. It was not perfect and could not be on a first try. And so I personally would lean toward additional funding for Volunteer Ascension, considering the great work that they do. I certainly, how I was not aware of some of that is kind of beyond me. So, but I have certainly been made aware of it, and I thank those who did, and I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Sauerly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important that we go back to the minutes of our meeting in terms of defending why the committee made the decision they made, and particularly in lieu of Councilman Lambert's comments about the fundraiser situation, which was addressed by one of our public speakers. One of the comments that the committee felt rather strongly about, and I'm reading from the notes, is that Ascension Parish should not fund fundraiser development costs. We felt like the money should more be for a project, and so in the budget there was an item in there about paying for the venue of their fundraiser, and by venue defined by both the rental of a facility and the supplying of the food and so forth for the people who come there, so they could be using our money, so to speak, to raise other funds. I think that's important to put into the record. In other words, a lot of these things, quite frankly, I know Terry's saying maybe we can go back and still do this. I think there's a danger there, though, if you do it for one group and don't do it for the other. I think we can be careful tonight. I think, that we at least stick as best we can to the committee's will. But that was issues like that. Also, if we tell you the budget that don't put this, and you put it in the budget, and you want monies reimbursed for it, what would you have the committee do? For example, there were, reading again from the notes, too many operational expenses in the proposal requested. For example, cell phones and things like that. We don't want to be paying, the title of the organization, they're a great organization, is Volunteer Ascension. We don't want to be paying for either the salaries, obviously, as I mentioned on another case, cell phones, funds for fundraising, et cetera. Also, this is another one where the committee felt rather strongly that there wasn't a specific project, and we charged everybody in a package. Tell us a project that you're going to do that's unique and it's not redundant to anything else in the parish and serves these many people and does this much good, et cetera. This organization is huge, and they have wonderful, but 10 different programs. So asking for a little bit of money for this one, a little bit for that one, a little bit for that, so forth. The committee felt it should be more project specific. The committee thought it lacked a clear measurement of tool. One of the questions that's in, I think, section 2 of our package, a tool for measuring success. On the complimentary side, like I say, we see good and bad. We thought the projects obviously were very good, excellent, but again, needs to be more specific project. Also in the budget, some of the in-kind matches that were placed in there just weren't clearly defined to us, making it difficult to, it's always difficult to do that with in-kind stuff. I might also add, Ms. Casso and myself, independently or collectively, is willing to get with any one of these groups who feels like they didn't get, and obviously everybody wants as much as they can get and so forth, but to try to help you next year to maybe improve your application, give you some helpful hints from Hannah, so to speak, and so forth, and I'd be glad to do that, and anybody that wants to, but I'm going to have to stick with my committee because I think the people on it did some serious, hard, and difficult work, and we were tasked, quite frankly, to try to cut some of this down. That came down from the president's office, and Ms. Casso brought that input to our committee. I believe in the past it was 300,000. It was cut down to 100, and I'm not sure this idea that if you told to give away 100, you have to give away 100. I mean, if that's the case, we could get one person in there, and it's absolutely excellent, the best grant, and they ask for 100. You're going to give it all to them, and nobody else gets anything? It's difficult. I'm just going to say that. But thank you for listening.
Councilman Kluat?
Yeah, well, I'm also in favor of upping the ante for volunteer ascension. Doc, I want to go ahead right now and tell you, we appreciate, I know it's the first round, and your subcommittee did some hard work, and you followed the rules based on what you had, and the entries and how they put it together. And so any vote tonight is not shooting a messenger, buddy.
I understand. We didn't do any hook and crook.
That's good. I'm glad you didn't.
Councilman Shakespeare.
Yes, thank you. We'd also like to thank the committee for the work they've done first year. Like to see a few things tweaked. Councilman Cazzo and I talked about before. We appreciate the recommendations which are made, like any other subcommittee, and it comes time for us to vote on those recommendations. And since we're staying within our budget, I have absolutely no problem with going with the motion to assist volunteer ascension. One of the things that we really need to look at is the track record. And I'd like to see some other organization that can match the track record for volunteer ascension. Or seed money for them to go out and raise more money, great. We're getting more money to spend to the people of this parish by us putting out some money to go out there. You go, girls. That's good. I think that's a value to us. I see what's being done. I was on the receiving end as a teacher and as dealing with kids in the community. I appreciate it. It's just good for Ascension, and that's the way I'd like to vote for what's good for Ascension. So, thank you.
Just
Councilman
one
Dempsey
last thing, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to mention Miss Audrey Boudreau. She was one of the ones that we really worked hard with, and I didn't want to, we was thanking other ladies. I want to make sure her name was in there also. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any opposition to that motion? Councilman Satterley? You had some discussion?
No, just object.
Okay, objection, one objection. Any other objections? Hearing none. That motion passes.
Okay, item number, let's see, these are the two that weren't in your packet, Councilman, but item 7E, add Ark of Ascension. The Ark of Ascension requested $6,571, and they were recommended for full funding. And where the astronaut, I'm going to tell you about that so that we I think, have a better idea about how the committee thought a grant should look. Okay? The Ark of Ascension, now watch, remember I tell you there's always negative and positive? Here's from the minutes. The committee felt like this was a true project, emphasis on the word true, that met all the requirements for funding. They thought the proposal was fiscally responsible for the amount of the funding request. The budget clearly was defined, and it was well documented. The support documentation was very well organized, and the benefit to the community was obvious.
Motion.
Second. Motion by Councilman Kluat, second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilman Kluat.
Doc, I thank you for that, and the lady works hard on that.
We look for some negatives, and we're not saying there aren't any. Don't let it swell your head, but I mean, it was a good project.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Oh,
Councilman Satterley?
Item 7F would be the quad area. I'm
Before
happy
you-
to have to.
One sec. Well, we have a motion on the second on the floor.
Oh,
But go
I
ahead. And vote on-
apologize. Sorry.
And go ahead and vote on 7E, which was the Arc of East Ascension. Is there any objection to that motion? Hearing none, that motion passes. Go ahead.
Apologize, Mr. Chairman. 7F is the quad area. The committee recommended not to fund this particular proposal. I believe the quad area was requesting $9,600.
Discussion, Councilman Joseph?
Doc, on quiet area, that was strictly for salaries or?
No, sir. Again, reading from the record, the committee felt very strongly that there was no clear defined project here. It was a group that pretty much was using justification with 1- and 2-line sentences to our questions to prove, validity of your grant request. That, we pretty much always were getting this money, and we'd like to continue to get it for that reason. The committee did not feel that was a justifiable reason for funding. Also, I'm looking at the proposal didn't demonstrate clear measurement for the project's success, and pretty much only listed which we asked not to, operational expenses.
Okay. And I guess that's where it goes back again, that this new process here, and that's going to take a little bit more education of these organizations, exactly what you want, and hopefully next year we can get more participants. 'Cause like you say, we know we have more people come here and ask us for money, and we only had 6 applicants here, and I just can't believe only 6 people need funding from the government when I know I've been here for 8 years and the door has always been open. We assist them. So I'm just hoping next year we get more participation with applicant. Thank you.
Okay.
Motion, Chairman.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilwoman Cazo to accept the recommended amount of 0 for quad area. Any discussion?
Yeah, more of a comment than the discussion. Appreciate what Mr. Oliver Joseph just said. And again, I want to reiterate to all of the grantees that applied and for those yet to come, please, as Mr. Martinez always says about when there's doubt about numbers or anything, come see us and be glad to sit down with you and help you, put a better proposal in next year. And then the second thing, I'm not saying I'm tired already, but if anybody else wants to chair the commission, Council Chairwoman Casso, you would not offend me in any possible way. This is a difficult thing, and I want to also thank Randy Cluat for your kind words. We did try. I'm not so sure we get a pass because it's our first year. Look what happened to Gus Malzahn and guys like that. But we aim to try to be the champions, and maybe we didn't totally hit the mark, but we did our best.
You got many more years, Doc, to get it.
I have a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes. Thank you, Councilman Sarley. We'll move on to item number 8, Balloon Championship Festival Subcommittee recommendations. Chairwoman Terry Casso.
Yes, in 2 meetings of the Balloon Subcommittee, one on November 25th and one on December 5th, recommendations were created to recommend to this body. The first one, item A, is for the approval to pay $100,000 from the Lamar Dixon Fund to offset the cost of the 2013 Balloon Championship Festival in exchange for the trademark rights and the ownership of the 2013 inventory.
Motion.
A motion by Councilman Cluat and a second by Councilman Schexnayder. Discussion? Councilman Malaso?
Yeah, I heard I wasn't able to make it to either one of the subcommittee meetings, but I've heard overwhelmingly from a lot of people in my district and around the parish that they love the Balloon Festival. They thought it was a great event. They enjoyed going there, but they just don't feel it's the role of the government, and they don't support spending more tax dollars and backing it going forward if they think it's going to be a continued loss, and they don't support bailing out the organizers, bailing out these organizations that didn't make the money back and lost the money this year. So I just, especially hearing that from so many people, I actually feel the same way. I can't support it.
Okay. Councilman Satterley?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I've got a lot of information here, but in lieu of the time of the evening and some of the challenges that Mr. Martinez and I have issued to each other, I've got 45 emails from constituents in my district that are 100% against the bailout of the Balloon Festival at Lamar Dixon. And or there were two questions I asked them in a poll continuing in 2014, but that's going to be a separate item we're going to cover in a minute with not having a 501c3 organization, the AFCC, do this, but do it inside the parish. So I'd just like to hand them over to the chairman and ask that they be entered into the record of the public domain. I don't feel like I could represent my people if I go out and ask them, what do you want? And they speak, I'm going to say vigorously. I'm not responsible again. Don't shoot the messenger. Think about the message, though, that's contained in there. They give some incredible reasons, in my opinion, and like Councilman Melanson, I happen to agree with him. And I want this council to know something else. When I wrote to them, I did not say Doc Sadley believes that you should be for or against it. I just wrote them and sent them newspaper clips, a copy of our cooperative endeavor agreement with Mr. Brad Walker and the AFCC, and then the third item that I included in the original email was the spreadsheet that Mr. Walker gave all of us before we established the subcommittees showing the $158,000 loss in the calendar year 2013. Only after I got a response from an individual did I respond to them and their questions as to what my feelings would be. So what you see, and what I just asked to enter in the record, is solicited, yes, asking for an opinion. I think that's all of our jobs, but not tainting what you might want to say or not, letting you just say what you want. And I do not believe it's my job to change their minds. I believe it's more my job, and I think it's all of our jobs as public servants to, respect whatever their opinions are. That said, I also have a problem with, and I told Ms. Castle that, and I don't know, is Mr. Walker here tonight to answer questions?
Mr. Martinez has all the materials.
Yeah, Tom, you have all the answers? Okay. All right. Well, one of the things I asked, unlike Councilman Lawson, well, like him and unlike him, I didn't make the first meeting. I didn't make the second meeting. And if you read the newspaper, yes, I'll come out of the closet. I was the guy sitting on the wall taking the copious notes, as Mr. Mitchell reported. And I noticed the committee did not ask Mr. Walker. He did bring receipts. I wish he would have brought them all, but he brought the ones of the outstanding debts yet. But, do you have the financial wherewithal to pay off this $158,000 deficit before the parish decides that we're going to bail you out at any level, $100,000 or whatever's going to happen here tonight? And I don't think that information, came forward. So I took Mr. Walker up on his challenge to me back in August when I spoke about my concerns of even funding the Balloon Festival with the $50,000 grant, that, we did that back in 2012. You were supposed to come to us. You promised that to Councilman Lambert and didn't. And so we finally did get that report with the two spreadsheets after both events occurred. But in that information was not anything about what your 501c3 organization, the AFCC, assets are. So I took him up on his challenge. He said, we're a public record company. I mean, you can just go and do that. So I got with the IRS, and I looked up the 2009, the 2010, and the 2012 990 EZs. And they show that the organization had in its coffers at the end of each of those, and these are fiscal year dates, right? 20,950 in 2009, 100,663 in 2010, and $113,562 in 2011. Now, when I say 2011, remember fiscal year, that means by not calendar year, but the end of June 30th, 2012. Unfortunately, and with Mr. Walker not here, I don't have a 990 EZ for the next month. The IRS tells me that it hasn't been filed yet. So I'd like to put these into the record to demonstrate that this organization has at least some financial wherewithal, and I would challenge this council to be sure that, especially if we're going to do this in the second part of the vote this afternoon inside the parish and not use this organization in the future, and they have money, and a lot of that money came from the state of Louisiana. I'm not going to argue again for the taxpayers. It also came from Ascension Parish. Remind the public, $100,000 from the state and $50,000 from the parish in 2012, and then this year in 2013, $50,000 with the 158 or whatever the number is now on top of it. But it's here in these non-90 EZs, and I'll just pass that to the chairman and ask that it be entered in the record as well. And we can stop there, and I got more I want to say, but maybe, Mr. Martinez, you have an answer to that
I don't
question?
have an answer for you. I gave you what the balance on the checkbook is as of November. That's what I have, and I have a book here with, I guess, last year's tax papers and what was spent this year, and that's what the balance is as of November 1st, and that's what I have here as far as any financials. And you are more than welcome to, we can make copies of this book and give them to the council, or if anybody wants to look at it tonight, they certainly have the opportunity.
So for the benefit of people watching, the ending balance for the checking account as of November was $1,606.42, according to the handout, the bank statement actually for Ascension Festivals and Cultural Council.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I'd be remiss if I also didn't mention in that spreadsheet that there was an item in there that also upset me that I didn't see the committee address, and that's the $15,000 that was supposed a profit in 2012. While they lost 158 in 2013, you know, the CEA says that money comes back to the parish. Again, I don't see that on the non-90 EZs or whatever, but I guess it was just held over in the books and used or whatever. But to do that, to me, that would require the decision of this council to decide whether that money was on top of the $50,000 we originally gave, et cetera. I want to move now to my concerns about safety, and just hear me out on this. I am very concerned about the safety of this balloon festival for the following reasons. In this folder, which I'll be entering the record shortly, 12/19/2013, you will find a website that's entirely devoted to the horror stories of hot air balloon festival accidents, deaths, and legal settlements entitled Hot Air Balloon Accidents. I challenge everybody to go take a look at that and see, you know, what's going on. There's also the Dane Law Firm. It's easy to find if you Google it up. These are attorneys that now have dedicated their entire practice to pretty much airplane and hot air balloon, but mostly hot air balloon accidents located in Albuquerque. But they tell you that if you've got an accident in your particular state, we'd be glad to come to you free of charge. You're going to find in the same folder, May 10th, 05, in Shreveport, Louisiana. Two Louisiana, we're actually from out of the state because there were, you know, balloon pilots come in, but two mortalities when a hot air balloon hit a power line. You're going to see this testified by both an Associated Press article and an article from the Morning Advocate. On August 6, 2005, right here in Baton Rouge, before we started doing it, hot air balloon strikes power lines again. The balloon came down on Nicholson and GSRI, Nicholson Drive and GSRI. Pilot jumped from the balloon. Okay, Morning Advocate story. The 20th U.S. National Hot Air Balloon Championship in Baton Rouge had an accident. Again, a pilot was killed in this one. So that's the third mortality right here in Baton Rouge, in addition to the two I mentioned earlier in Shreveport. This year, October 10th, just a couple weeks ago, 2013 in Albuquerque at the big festival, hot air balloon into power lines again, 40-foot drop, severe burns, crew member that tried to untangle the balloon from the power lines gets burned badly as well. And then a second accident reported from a hard landing with broken leg. And on and on and on. And the Dane Law Firm talks about it, that just about every year there's at least a serious accident and or mortality. And some of the settlements of these lawsuits are huge. In the tens, and I even saw one up in Ottawa, Canada, in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Invariably, the balloon pilot with his insurance, which I understand from talking to a balloon meister that happens to be a neighbor living just one street over from me in my district, that you know, there is some danger, and there's some concern about, and we'll get to that in a minute, Lamar Dixon because of the petrochemical plants. 2012, the AFCC balloon, the folder will also contain pictures of close proximity of Lamar Dixon to these petrochemical plants, as well as flyover pictures in 2013. According to a report by the Creole, in fact, one balloon actually caught fire. My concern, and I'm glad that pilot was able to take care of business, the article concluded it's like riding a barrel racing horse. Sometimes you got to whip him pretty hard to the finish, but it leaves a whelp on him. And fortunately this time the guy only got a whelp on his balloon where the panels burned. But what would happen if that happened and that balloon dropped into one of these petrochemical plants? There'll be evidence in there that will show that plant's Vulcan shell within 3/4 of a mile. And even on Mr. Walker's website, he had areas, and you're going to see that in their maps, showing most likely where balloons may land, likely, possible, but maybe not as likely. And inside those zones and all, you're going to see the problem that I'm talking about between the close proximity of Lamar-Dixon to these plants. I'd like to enter that into the record. Hot air balloon concerns I have economically, and I have two more, but I'm not even going to put those into the record. I'm going to stop with this one and listen to the discussion. On April 7th, 2002, these are newspaper articles readily available on the internet. The annual Piedmont Almance Hospice League Hot Air Balloon Festival was canceled. The article said why? Because of the poor economy and the few corporate sponsors they could gain after years and years of doing this, a drop in fact of 50% just from the year 2000 to 2002, they were canceling their balloon festival. October 27th, 2013, the Great Mississippi River Balloon Race. It says the title of the article, this is the 501c4 group that puts that on as well, by the way, is the festival is likely going to end in 2014. Again, why? Unexpected rainouts, can't control nature, hot air balloons don't fly, you get low gates of people coming to see things in the rain. The pilot costs they considered were much too high and pretty much one-sided because these pilots won't come, as Mr. Walker indicated, unless you pay their hotel rooms, the propane for their balloons, pay for their meals, insurance, etc. Okay? It also talks about having bands and other things like we do with the kids. But they said in the article they weren't sure if the hot air balloons alone, in other words, if you didn't have bands and other attractions, would ever be successful because you can't get these pilots to do this. This year we increased from 2012, whatever the number was, 20 balloons to 60 or whatever. And of course we had to offer $20-something thousand in prizes to do that, to get that to be a certified festival and so forth. So the costs get even bigger than just the propane in the rooms and so forth. In Hudson, Massachusetts, July 19th, 2012, in this folder, it'll show hot air balloons. Festival canceled after 7 years. They finally gave up. What did they cite? Again, like the other ones, lodging for the pilots too high. Propane, one-sided deal, we can't continue. You're going to see pictures in here of Lamar-Dixon from the Times-Picayune. Very, very poor sponsorship. And sparsity of crowds is evident. The Advocate pics of attendance on the grounds of the balloon lifting off in the background. Some of these pictures you could count the number of people that were there while balloons are lifting off on two hands. Now, I wasn't there, and I've heard the numbers of, well, we were told $100,000 at Councilman Sadly $2, it would be $200,000, and of course that did materialize and was even less this year than last year. We heard it was 60 in 2012 and 35,000. I don't know what the number is, but some of the pictures don't look like a lot of people were out there. If you actually go, by the way, to www.ascensionballooning.com, I did. I recommend everybody in the committee do that. There were 14 corporate sponsorships offered, and they were listed ranging from a low of $2,000 to a high of $175,000. View that list. Only one in that list at the very lowest amount, $2,500 for the Children's Arts and Crafts sponsorship, was marked sold. And of course we know we only had, what, $15,000 in sponsorship revenues, and that matches the Hudson, Massachusetts people, the Great Mississippi River Balloon Race, the Piedmont thing, and so forth. So in other words, folks are getting out of this business because of the economy and a lack of sponsorship and the fact that these people spend this money and they're tired. And I have to wonder when we go to the next part of this, after we decide if we're going to give this money, are we doing the right thing? And I won't even bring it back to Lamar-Dixon, but the reality is that's where it's held. If we're going to do it safely, though, well, people are saying you probably shouldn't be letting balloons that are catching on fire be flying over Lamar-Dixon. I thank everybody for for listening, and like Councilman Lawsaw, obviously I'm not going to be able to support this tonight. I'd like to enter this last information in the record as well. Thank you.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Parish President, at the subcommittee meeting last, we talked about the inventory, whether or not the dates were on the merchandise. Because the T-shirts, we had $18,000 worth, whether they were 2013. Did they have the dates on them T-shirts?
I haven't seen the inventory yet.
Oh, we haven't seen, okay. I thought we was gonna have that before.
Well, I really hadn't. It's been tight.
Well, my biggest thing with this, and I did vote on giving you a shot at it next year for us, we taking it over, and I'm still for that, but, you know, the 100,000 that we're gonna have to give for a non-profitable organization to put on a event, and we take the, you know, bail him out, we're gonna open up the doors for more to come to us. If they have an event somewhere at one of our facilities and it's a non-profitable and they don't make money and they go in the hole, well, we did it for one, why won't y'all do it for me? So, and that's why that's the total reason why I can't support this. Because it will open up the doors for more to come to us that, you know, and a lot of these type of events don't make money, you know, it's just like a lot of things that, you know, and I commend you for keeping Lamar Dixon, you know, in black, so. Pretty much my go on this.
Okay. Councilman Cluett?
Yeah, I just want to say that, just let everybody make it clear that this money that we're looking to appropriate right now to take over the franchise of this and the rights and everything is coming from the Lamar Dixon funds that are generated at Lamar Dixon, not coming out the general fund. Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Real quick.
Councilman Shakespeare?
Yeah, I'd like to side with all the people that, in my neighborhood that went out and enjoyed the balloons coming over and the kids that were outside, and the 30,000 people that I went to the balloon festival and saw everybody had a great time for a number of days. It was a great event. I am not happy with how the financial situation turned out.
Right.
I think that was there was some situation above and beyond some ideas and controls. This was the second year that we've done that. It was encouraged to expand, and it backfired. Don't like that. But that being said, I do think after 2 years, we found that I'd like to put the ball in Parish President's hand. We talk about a track record and what he's done with things. He's assured us and already started the ball rolling to be able to fund this properly and make it a positive for the parish. And I think it's something Lamar Dixon can have, enhance, advertise, and be a big positive for this parish and also for Lamar Dixon and all the kids and families that enjoy it. And I think it's well worth it, and I support it 100%. And again, I don't like this. It's one of those pills you have to swallow to move forward, and I'd like to see us move forward with it. And so I will support this in order to get this ball rolling in a positive direction, and I think we will.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on 8A. Madam Secretary, will you do a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Cazzo.
Yes.
Hold on. Councilman Satterley.
Before we have this vote, I want to say something about what Councilman Lambert said. I was finished, but until I heard him speak, struck a chord with me. Just last week, I got a call from Mr. Dawson, not our Ken Dawson, but the one with the Cancer Foundation, who with Mr. Lewis Lambert and others comes before us every year for the $50,000 to do the...
Bill Dawson.
Bill, thank you, Mr. President, Bill Dawson. To do cancer treatment screening for people who can't afford it. Men and women, you know, mammograms, PSAs, so forth and so on. And so are we going to be required to be under the 501c3? And I didn't know what to tell the man. I didn't speak for the whole council, but I thought yes. And so he told me, well, they're doing it anyway, so I guess it's not going to matter. Lewis Lambert and him are working on that. But in the conversation, he brought up this issue about the balloon festival. It was in the papers that we were thinking about the bailout. And he was very straightforward. So, Doc, if we get $50,000 and you bless us with that grant, and this is what Mr. Lambert's talking about, and we spend, well, I don't know, another 100, 150 beyond the 50 doing more mammograms, more prostate-specific antigen tests, et cetera, on these people, saving lives, okay? Can we come back to you and ask you to give us that extra money? I said, again, anything's possible. I mean, you can come back to this council, obviously. I wouldn't look very highly upon that. And that's the precedent we're going to be setting in a minute. If we bail this group out, what am I going to tell if I maintain chairmanship? Randy seems to think that's maybe okay for one more year. What am I going to tell Special Tuesday? What am I going to tell River Region? What am I going to tell Volunteer Ascension, et cetera? If they want to come back and say, hey, we asked for this, you funded that, but we went a little bit overboard, we're more zealous in our program, we want more money. I think, ladies and gentlemen, Todd Lambert has said the biggest mouthful of all tonight. This sets a very dangerous precedent.
Councilman Cazzo?
Just for clarification, this 501c3 was set up for the purpose of the promotion of Lamar Dixon, as I understand it. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
So-
In the beginning, that's what it was
the
going to do,
festival
and to
festivals.
put on different programs, whether it be concerts, festivals, any type situation that would help promote Lamar Dixon, yes.
And so my conclusion is that the Balloon Festival certainly helps to promote Lamar Dixon. And it would be a stretch of logic for me to equate this with any kind of bailout of any other form. I mean, this is us paying, reimbursing this organization that was set up for the purpose of promoting Lamar Dixon for having promoted Lamar Dixon. So I do not feel uncomfortable with this, although I am not happy that the Balloon Festival found itself in the financial straits that it did. I share Mr. Shake Snyder's concerns. And for that reason, we had serious discussion about whether this would be something we would ever do again. And we unanimously agreed to do it one more time. And if it is not successful, the parish president and the council will make the determination that this doesn't work. But we believe that it is a premier event. I think that there were 30,000 people out there with me, or 29,999 and me, and we had a fantastic time. And the children, the faces of those children as those balloons take off is just absolutely amazing. I would also like to address the safety issues. I have those concerns. My husband, although he no longer flies, was a long, many, many years a balloon pilot. And like any other activity or sport in which you participate, there is some risk in that. And so I would suspect, correct me if I'm wrong, that waivers are signed for participation. And so I would think that we might research how to better protect ourselves from any kind of liability. Yes, Mr. President.
And I agree that we're going to look at that as we proceed in the first few meetings, if we are allowed to continue. And the other thing that Mr. Satterley brought up was about the petrochemical plants, and I think Mr. Lambert, I agree 100% that the balloons should not fly from Lamar Dixon. I think that the festival port should remain there, and the balloon glow should remain there. But as far as looking about taking off and landing at Lamar Dixon, I agree with you. I think that we would look at a different place to do so and make arrangements to do so. So that's just part of it. And as I said, it's certainly going to be up to this council tonight whether we proceed or don't proceed. But I mean, I made an offer that I would be happy to do this for another year to see if it would work. If it doesn't work, I'll be the first one here to say, hey, it's time to go and to get rid of this. But again, like everything else, I mean, I'd like to give it a chance. I think I saw a lot of potential there. I saw 30,000 people there. I saw 30,000 people that actually enjoyed the festival. I know Councilman Malonson was there last year, and it was quite a crowd, and I think everybody there, it's a really clean festival and something that the community could, I think, get behind. And as far as sponsorships, nobody's just going to come up to you and offer you a sponsorship. I think you have to go out and ask, and I think that's something we'll be a lot better at doing. Just like we talked about Lamar Dixon and running Lamar Dixon. You know, it's the same thing. I mean, it's just all in how much you put into it, you're going to take out of it. And so that's my offer, and whatever happens here tonight, however which way you vote, is certainly going to be a council decision. But you know, I gave what I thought was a good compromise, and I also gave you what I thought we could possibly do in the future. Whether or not you go along with that or not, that's certainly going to be up to you.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kazo.
Yes.
Councilman Kluat.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
No.
Councilman Melanson.
No.
Councilman Satterley.
No.
Councilman Shake Snyder.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
That
7-3.
motion, 7-3, that motion passes.
The second item, B, was the acceptance of the organizational chart for the Balloon Championship Festival Committee, which basically puts the festival under the control of the administration, with
So
the
moved.
council as its oversight.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Shake Snyder, second by Councilman Joseph. Discussion? Objections? One objection? Any other objections? We'll go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kazo.
Yes.
Councilman Kluat.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Melanson.
No.
Councilman Satterley.
No.
Councilman Shake Snyder.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
8-2.
That motion passes 8-2.
Last item, item C, was which should have frankly been item A, is the approval of the 2014 Balloon Championship Festival.
Motion by Councilman Shake Snyder.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Discussion. Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yeah, could we add, we're looking at maybe at the first meeting or two, looking at pending legal as far as liability on this?
Yeah.
I would like to put that in if we could.
Before we move forward and go and talking to balloon pilots and everything else, we certainly want to make sure that all that's there.
Okay.
And also, again, we certainly want to make sure we have a site to land and take off from that we feel would be safe. I mean, nothing's 100% when we walk out that door as far as a potential accident. But again, we'll try to make it in an area that would be as safe as possible.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm here tonight to ask for a resolution for FY 213 Assistance to Firefighters Grant. This is in coordination with the Fire District Number 2, Mr. Fire Chief Chuck
Montero.
asked us to
So
work
moved,
with
Mr.
him.
Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by
Got it.
Councilman Joseph. Discussion. Objections. That motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Number 14, extension of intergovernmental sales tax agreement between Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, and the City of Donaldsonville. Mr. Parrington.
Yes, 10 years ago, when the part of Donaldsonville that was annexed in for the Walmart took place, there was a sales tax sharing agreement which set a benchmark for the city before we started sharing taxes. That agreement expires on January 14th of 2014. However, the sales tax authority can only publish taxes to begin on a quarter. So what this agreement does, it just extends the agreement till March 31st. At the end of March 31st, if no other agreements were made, then we'll start collecting full sales tax.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Melanson, and a second by Councilman Joseph. Any discussion? Objections? That motion passes. Item number 15, the introduction of an ordinance accepting a donation of a street sweeper from the City of Gonzales along with a cooperative endeavor agreement.
Motion introduced.
Motion introduced by Councilman Melanson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluat. Any objections? Ordinance is introduced. Number 16 is a reading of an ordinance for Keystone of Galvez Plan Unit Development Revised Conceptual Plan. Mr. Parrington.
The ordinance amends the official zoning map to reflect the revisions to the Keystone of Galvez Plan Unit Development, whereas the Ascension Parish, a local government subdivision, is defined by Article 6, Section 44, Louisiana Constitution 1974. Whereas the Parish Ascension is the governing authority responsible, governing body over the zoning and regulations within the jurisdiction. Whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish, adopted May 4th, 1993, identifies a process manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating lands of the parish. Whereas the Plan Unit Development Regulations was created by ordinance in December 1st, 2005, whereas the official zoning map for Ascension Parish was last adopted on June 30th, 2009. Whereas the Parish Council reserves the authority to make changes to the official zoning map by ordinance. Keystone of Galvez was proposed to pass unit development per Appendix 6, Section 17-607B. The Unified Land Development Code was rezoned to Plan Unit Development Concept when granted by the council to allow the developer to pursue plans for the Plan Unit Development Master Plan. On April 1st of 2010, the Parish Council accepted the request based on conditions listed in Exhibit D. The revised final development plan was reviewed and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on November 13, 2013. Be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority, the official zoning map of the Ascension Parish is amended to reflect the property identified as Exhibit A as the Plan Unit Development as the official zoning designation with the conditions specified in Exhibit D to the restricted for development on this property and property identified in Exhibit B as the conservation as the official zoning designation. In the event any portion of this ordinance is held to be invalid or unconstitutional for any purpose by any court of competent jurisdiction, over such said portion shall be deemed separate and distinct, and independent provisions shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. This ordinance shall have the full effect as permitted by law. The exhibits are the legal description, the site and boundary plan, the conditions. The ordinance have been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Satterley. Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Need a motion to move the ordinance. Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Lawson. Any discussion? Any objections? Ordinance is adopted. Item 19 is a reading of an ordinance for the Keystone of Galvez revised developers agreement of planned unit development. Mr. Parrington.
To amend the development plan entered into by and between the Parish of Ascension and Keystone of Galvez LLC to allow the construction of a planned unit development with special stipulations that shall run within the land and be of personal obligation to each party. Whereas the Parish of Ascension is Ascension Parish is the local government subdivision is defined by Article 6, Section 44, Louisiana Constitution, 1974. Whereas the Parish of Ascension is the governing responsible body over the zoning and regulations within its jurisdiction. Whereas the development agreement is prepared consistent with Louisiana LARS 334780.21 subpart in Appendix 6 of Section 176010B of the Ascension Parish Land Development Code. Whereas Keystone of Galvez LLC and the owner of Keystone Galvez Development Property has submitted and received approval with conditions of the concept plan identified as Keystone Galvez PUD by the Parish Council with conditions on May 6, 2010. Whereas the Keystone of Galvez PUD was processed and approved consistent with Appendix 6 of the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code. Whereas the final development plan was reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission on October 23, 2010, and approved by the Parish Council on January 6, 2011. Now be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority that the Keystone PUD Development Agreement is amended to reflect the conditions, obligations, and terms as outlined in Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof. In the event any portion of the ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions, shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. This ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Move the ordinance, sir.
Open the public comment.
I have a motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Satterley.
Second.
And a second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Close.
Motion to close by
Second.
Councilman Joseph. Second by Councilman Satterley. Motion to move the ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Joseph. Second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any objections? Ordinance is adopted. Item number 22, reading of an ordinance to revoke the existing 15-foot servitude located between lots B-1-B and B-1-D of the O'Neill Burke Jr. property. Mr. Parrington.
To revoke the 15-foot drainage servitude located between lots B1B and B1D of the O'Neill J. Burke Jr. property. The petitioner is petitioning the Ascension Parish Council to revoke the dedication of existing 15-foot servitude located between lots B1B and B1D of the O'Neill J. Burke property. Planning Department, Drainage Department, Engineering, and all relevant utilities have reviewed and researched and said requests and have no objections to the revocation. Therefore, the Parish of Ascension hereby ordains that it grants the approval of revocation of existing 15-foot servitude located between lots B1B and B1D of the O'Neill J. Burke property, more fully described on the plat attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A. All ordinance or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. If any provision of this ordinance ever held to be invalid, such invalidity shall not affect the provisions which can be given full effect without the valid provision, and to that end, the provision of this ordinance is hereby declared to be severable. The effect of this ordinance shall be within 15 days. The ordinance having been submitted.
Motion to open public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Lawson.
So close.
Motion to close by Councilman Joseph and a second by Councilman
Move the
Kluwat.
ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance by
Second.
Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Joseph. Any discussion? Any objections? Ordinance is adopted. Before we get to Councilman Todd Lambert, on behalf of the council, we just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. We certainly hope that you get a chance to spend a lot of time with your families and loved ones, and that you also have a very safe and blessed New Year as well. Councilman Todd Lambert, motion to adjourn, second by Councilman Johnson, and we are adjourned.